Now, automobiles, America, the land of the free, the land of the automobile. You can imagine that in places like Pennsylvania, they must have welcomed them when they arrived, yes?
No.
No. It's the right answer. Alan, you're really getting the hang of
Played this before. You have to intuit.
You would be astounded by the Farmers Anti-Automobile Association of Pennsylvania with its list of impractical requirements for motorists. Automobiles travelling on country roads at night must send up a rocket every mile. And then wait 10 minutes for the road to clear. The driver may then proceed with caution, blowing his horn and shooting off Roman candles. If the driver of an automobile sees a team of horses approaching, he is to stop, pull to one side of the road, cover his machine with a blanket or dust cover, which is painted or coloured to blend into the scenery. In case a horse is unwilling to pass an automobile on the road, the driver of the car must take the machine apart as rapidly as possible and conceal the parts in the bushes. Really didn't want motor cars in Pennsylvania. Honking the horn, is that a sensible, safe thing to do? Does it avoid accidents?
Oh, it'll frighten the horses.
Well, obviously, let's assuming we're talking about now when there aren't any.
Wouldn't it raise aggression? Hearing a loud noise makes you probably release adrenaline, and then your instincts would be flawed, I would have thought.
I think you're absolutely right.
Have you ever driven in Italy?
Oh,
I've been on tour in Italy, and the word go is die in Italy.
Avanti.
Die! Like, fuck! I'm 19, I'm not a driver.
No, but you're absolutely right. There is no evidence that using the horn contributes to safety.
There's something interesting with police sirens, isn't there? Because it's two different notes, and the reason is if you hear one note for a long time, you can't tell where it's coming from.
That's exactly right. You genuinely can't tell. Is that in front of me?
Yeah.
Should I put, or is it behind me? You just don't know. In America, they have a very good rule when you hear a siren on the road.
Yeah.
You just simply stop driving.
Yeah.
And go
Absolutely.
and have a meal.
And then... But it actually somehow works out incredibly well, and the emergency vehicle just...
But they have wider roads.
They have
probably.
much wider roads, of course, yeah. But it does work
I
fantastic.
usually
And
try
everybody
and
does it.
see which of the emergency services it is, and then decide.
On buzzers, please. How do car thieves start cars?
Happy, please.
Hot wire.
Hot wire. Almost impossible to hotwire a modern car. Did you know that?
Listen.
Yes, Lou.
It's something to do with the wing mirror, and something in the wing mirror then triggers something else. Look it up. In certain cars...
Yeah.
I can't go into it for legal reasons.
No, well, what it is, since the mid-90s, there have been all sorts of precautions. So there's a little chip in the key.
I love chips.
If the car doesn't detect the chip, then the key isn't there, and then it won't start. But there's all sorts of newfangled technology, and you can now use things like scanners to clone radio signals from the keys, and you can, in fact, do it from outside somebody's house. So you could be outside the house with your scanner, and the keys are in the house, and they're all fast asleep, and you can still start the car. Basically, keep your car keys as far away from your front door as possible, or in a biscuit tin.
Oh, yeah, because thieves do not like biscuits.
First car theft ever was committed by a woman. Did you know this?
I love that.
Yes. So her name was Bertha Benz. So married to
Oh, not the Benz of...
the Benz of Mercedes-Benz.
Mr. Benz.
Carl Benz. He'd invented the very first practical automobile, and she thought he wasn't doing his best to sell it, so she decided that she was going to take it on the very first long-distance journey. It was the 5th of August, 1888, and she took his car and she drove 90 kilometres from Mannheim to Pforzheim with her 2 teenage sons, because she thought, whilst doing this, she might as well visit her mother. What I love this about her, at one point she stopped at a cobbler's and asked him to put some leather pieces hammer them onto the brakes so that the brakes wouldn't wear out, and in doing so she invented the modern brake pad. So she's marvellous, isn't she? She was both a thief and an inventor.
Yeah.
Bet she couldn't park it, though.
Do you know what? It's such a pleasure to see somebody doing so well on their last time on the show.
What's the best way to stop your car from being stolen?
Never park it, just drive it around and around.
What you've cunningly done is avoid the obvious trap of saying have a car alarm, because it seems that car alarms are worse than useless. In fact, we know that instinctively, don't we?
Because you ignore them.
You ignore them?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, not only that, 1% of people, when asked, said that they would actually call the police if they heard a car alarm, and 60% said that they would call up to complain about it. They would actually make a phone call, but not to say that someone's car was being stolen, but just to say what a bloody nuisance it was.
So if that's the worst thing to do, then what's the best thing to do?
Well, put in an old-fashioned lock.
Or have a rubbish car.
Or
I've
have
got
a
yeah,
terrible car.
I've got a terrible car
Yeah.
with loads of graffiti on it.
Yeah.
Someone drew a penis on the front bonnet.
A friend of mine who's married to a vicar, she came out one morning and found someone who'd written monk whore on the
Extraordinary.
monk whore.
And now on BBC One, Monk Hall.
Robson Green is monk hall. Did you know that actually car thieving is almost never a female occupation?
That's like a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tonight, the pair of us.
Yes. I'm sure you know who that is, but...
That's Bonnie.
Bonnie, as in Bonnie and Clyde, yes. But apparently the confraternity of car thieves don't think women should be allowed... So if a woman steals a car, they can't sell it on. Because they go, no, I'm not having that. I'm not having it off you, you don't know what it's about.
So what you're saying is there's very little divide between car thieves and car salesmen. Have a similar
It's a
view.
sexist bastion.
I saw this brilliant documentary about crime, and they interviewed these two young car criminals who were in jail, and they talked about what pride they took in their work, and one of them turned to the camera and said, "Some car criminals, unfortunately, give the rest of us a bad name."
Anyway, you know how they used to have men with red flags walking in front of cars?
Well, yes.
Yes.
I've heard of such
I don't
a thing.
remember it.
Oh!
What a trick.
Because they never did. They're not? They never did, no. They had a Red Flag Act, which was a little bit earlier, and it meant if you were in a steam...
He tricks you now. It doesn't feel like it's a question.
A steam
It feels
bus.
like it's in the
I
conversation.
know.
Yeah.
It was a trap. It was a wicked trap. I'm very ashamed of
So
myself.
nobody ever had to follow a car? I've
No.
seen a drawing of somebody doing it.
The
I know
Red Flag
drawings
Act
aren't necessarily real.
I
but-
saw a drawing of a unicorn once.
Yes.
The Red Flag Act of 1865 required men known as stalkers to walk 60 yards in front of a vehicle.
60 yards?
Yes, carrying a red flag. But it lasted
Miles
in
in
18...
front. It's back there, it's coming.
It lasted in
Any minute
1878. So it was only relevant to traction engines and steam buses. From 1878 to 1896, the flag was optional. And in 1896, it was abolished. And by then, there were no more than 80 cars in the UK. So there was never a time when cars were preceded by red flags in the UK.
What colour was the Model T Ford?
Don't say.
Black.
Bless him, like a little puppy runs into
You can
the
have
wall.
any colour except as long as it's black.
Oh, he said that even that phrase.
History is bunk. Have you got that as well?
Yeah, he did actually say that, I think. He said history is more or less bunk.
He was a Nazi.
He was a horrific anti-Semite. He was a grotesque man. There was nothing nice whatever to say about Henry Ford.
No, nothing.
Yeah.
Hitler only read 2 books, didn't he, when he was
Yeah.
in prison?
Yeah.
One of them was Henry Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, horrible man.
Really.
Anyway, it wasn't black.
No, the first year of Ford Model T Fords, you couldn't get a black one. You could get them in grey, red, or Brewster green.
Unless they were made in Manchester, in which case they were all blue.
Is that right? Oh, I like that. It's good.
I'm
That's what we're
sorry,
here.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
You've
they're
got-
blue. The Manchester ones, I'm fairly certain, were blue ones.
When did they start making them in Manchester? Quite a lot later.
1910, I think.
Oh, really? That's good. Between 1908 and 1927, they made 15,485,000 Model T Fords. And during that time, the price fell from $825 to $260.
Have you ever driven one?
Never have.
The hardest thing in the world.
It's all pedals, isn't it?
It's this business. It's just so hard. You have to put your foot
Pass
on
the
the
loofah.
clutch. It has 2 speeds, quite fast or really very fast indeed. And there's nothing you can do to slow it down.
no brake
other than
pedal?
hit a tree. And there were no roads in them. There were only about 190 miles of road when that thing came out.
There we are, that's the Model T Ford. In fact, in the first year of production, black wasn't even an option. After 1913, they were all black, but there's no evidence that Ford actually ever said any colour you like, so long as it's black.
Guess who had the first driving licence in the world?
The Queen.
No, oddly enough, you couldn't be wrong, Gura, because the Queen has
No driving
no
licence.
driving licence. She's the only person in Britain who doesn't have a driving licence, yet who drives.
She.
Or who, I mean, there may be illegal ones, obviously. The only one who legally has no need for a driving licence.
So what does she show them at Blockbusters to prove her address now?
A £20 note. That would do it. Yeah. Well, no, but the first ever driving licence, not surprisingly perhaps, who invented the motor car?
Mr. Benz.
Mr. Benz, Carl Benz. Carl Benz is in Mercedes-Benz. Yeah, exactly.
He just made one for himself.
Well, no, the citizens
I
of
think
Man...
I need a licence. It's a dangerous machine.
Ausweis.
License to drive. Now I can drive. Driving license number 1. 0001.
I bet the first thing he did when he got on the road was stop the next bloke and go, "There's your license."
Oh, dear.
I will issue it as a license. It's 5 marks. 0002. Good day, too. Where's your license? I will issue it with a license. 5 marks. 0003. I don't know, he kept making the cars.
Yeah, he's so busy. The authorising body was called the Dampfkessel-Überwachungsverein, which means the Steam Boiler Supervision Association, which granted the first licences, in the mandatory ones in Prussia.
The SSA.
Until the 14th of May, 2002, women in Lithuania...
He was still doing it. 1 million.
5 euros.
Where's your license?
No, in Lithuania in that year, women had to undergo a certain test in order to get a licence. What do you think that test was?
In where? Lithuania?
It's Lithuania, yes.
Smear test?
Well, yes, a gynecological examination.
Joking.
No. I don't know. There was one man who ran the entire office. He may... It's rather bizarre. The Chinese have multiple choice driving test questions, 100 of them. One of them includes is, if you come across a road accident victim whose intestines are lying on the road, should you pick them up and push them back in? Is the answer yes or no?
I should think you don't push them back in.
You don't, you're right. You would not get your licence.
I'm not a doctor.
Yes. No. You
Didn't
don't.
they that weird thing in the Cultural Revolution in China whereby traffic lights, you know, here are green for go and red for stop.
Yeah.
But they thought during the Cultural Revolution that was incorrect and that red should mean go. Because, you know, sort of
lucky
culturally,
number.
communism and all the rest of it.
Oh, right.
But they failed to change all the traffic lights. So some traffic lights green was go and some red was go. And they just had thousands of accidents. And then they had to sort of change it back.
Wow. Hence the probability of there being intestines lying on the road.
Yeah.
So it is a
Probably
sort
where
of
it came from in the first place.
It's a
But
practical
they're not
question.
actually green, though, are they? They're kind of blue.
Yes, they can be, can't they?
Because red and green is a very, very common colour blindness. So when they first did red and green, it was a disaster for some people. Just carried straight on.
Yeah, and because they couldn't tell which light, whether it was the top or the bottom.
No, they could, so the green...
If I see a black and white film, I can tell which light's on, can't you?
Yes, but not in the dark, Stephen. Sometimes you
You're right.
are
That's a fair
relying
point.
on
No,
the
that
colour,
is-
let's face it,
No,
usually.
you're right. I'm sorry. That's fair.
Did hear a character in a film once say, "Don't look at the lights never hit anyone." So that's quite a good motto for driving.
It is.
This is what I will use.